guys, I'm Andrea. I'm a young adult author and welcome to my channel if it's your first time here, and welcome back to my channel if you've been here before. So today, we are going to be discussing Shatter Me by Tahereh Mafi. So I've never read this book before and I know it was really popular across Booktube, so I picked it up at Barnes & Noble in one of my previous TBRs. I think it wasn't really a haul because I only bought 3 books, but it was like a TBR / mini haul way back, like the beginning of this year. I want to say like January timeframe, January, February. But I just finished it, and actually this book includes the Destroy Me novella, which is told from Warner's point of view. So let's just jump right in to how I feel about this book. So as always, we'll start out with non-spoilers for those of you who haven't read the book and want to read it. Basically, this book is about Juliet. I call her Julietta when I read her name. I don't know why. It's definitely Juliet, but that's just what I call her. So basically, it's about Juliet, and her touch is lethal. If she touches you, she can harm you. She can even kill you in some cases. And it follows her story. She's kind of locked up in an asylum for basically a year, and in this story the world as we know it like doesn't exist. Like, we've come to a place in society where like everything's kind of been destroyed. Like, we've kind of destroyed our earth. Like, there's been so much genetic modification of plants and animals that like I don't want to say don't exist anymore, but like that they're too messed up, and so society and everything is kind of just broken down, and people are living in like ships, like huge ships that have been made into houses and things. It's kind of crazy. It's a dystopia. So, and there's this government which is obviously corrupt because dystopia, called the Reestablishment, that's basically promising to make everything better and all this other stuff, but they're basically a bunch of liars. Like, they're not helping at all. So we follow our main character Juliet, and she meets this guy named Kent in the asylum, and it kind of just goes from there. I don't want to say too much. For the non-spoilery section, I will say that I did enjoy this book. I know some people who've read it didn't enjoy it, and they say that it gets so much better in the next novel, which I'm going to buy. I just don't have it quite yet, but I'm going to buy it. I found that I really liked this book, even thinking about the things that people said that they didn't really like about it. I didn't really have an issue with pacing, kind of getting through this book. Like, I felt like it was kind of a really easy read, and like kind of like I could push through it. Like, it wasn't hard to read. I didn't have to make myself read it. I wanted to read more, which I know some people were saying that they didn't, because the majority of the book she's in the asylum and then goes somewhere else and then gets a little bit of action and it picks up, but once it picks up, it just picks up and then ends. I just didn't have an issue with it. I really enjoyed it. I read it, finished it, I believe, on a plane in like January. No, it wasn't January. Okay, I'm lying. I finished it on the plane last month, fairly recently, and like I said, it was just a really easy read for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The Destroy Me novella, I literally just started maybe like less than a week ago, and I'm already done. It's only like 101 pages, so I really could have read it in a day, but I just took frequent breaks, so that's why it took me a little bit longer to read it. But if you can see my tabs here, like these 2 tabs are for Shatter Me, and then like all these are for Destroy Me. So the novella was so good, and it was hard to read it because it was just like, it was told from Warner's point of view, and in the book he's like the bad guy, but the novella made me sympathize with him, and I kind of like him now, which is, I don't know if that was the point of the novella. I feel like after you read it, how can you not like him? How can you not feel bad and like him? You kind of have to. Overall, for the non-spoilery section, to wrap it up, I would recommend this book. I would recommend the novella even more. I would say if you struggle reading Shatter Me, don't jump from Shatter Me to, I believe the next book is Unravel Me. I can't say that Unravel Me is good or bad because I haven't read it, but I would say if you don't like Shatter Me, at least, at minimum, give Destroy Me a chance, because it's only 101 pages, and what do you really have to lose when you can sit down and read it probably in like a couple of hours? And if you don't like that, then you don't have to continue. Like, I'm not gonna make you read it, obviously, but I think you should at least give it a chance, because Destroy Me is such a good novella, guys. Like, Oh my gosh, and it explains so much. As you're reading Shatter Me, you kind of have problems. Like if you have problems with the world building and kind of understanding things or understanding the villain, like Destroy Me wraps it all up for you guys in a nice little bow. And it's very intense and refreshing. It's crazy. There's really not much I can say without giving you guys spoilers, but 10 out of 10 would recommend Destroy Me. Shatter Me, like 7 out of 10 would recommend it. I haven't rated them yet, guys, but if I would rate them on the spot for those of you that don't want spoilers, Destroy Me is a 5 out of 5. I loved it. Shatter Me, I would give it like a 4 out of 5 stars because I did really like it. So we're gonna jump into some spoilers here now. So if you haven't read Shatter Me or Destroy Me and you want to read it, then feel free to hop off this video. If you don't care about spoilers and you're fine with being spoiled, then stay tuned because we're about to dive in. Let's get started. Like I said, I just finished Destroy Me. So Shatter Me is kind of a distant memory, but I'm going to try to discuss some of my feelings about it. I have a couple markers in it, which I don't even know what they were about. I found that Shatter Me was very good. Juliet was a very strange main character, but I loved that it was like a refreshing take on a person because she's supposed to be like locked up in this asylum for a year, so she's not completely sane almost. But then again, she is. You know, the whole crossing things out, like throughout the whole book and her perspective, things just get crossed out, crossed out, crossed out. And I feel like it was refreshing to see that because I've never read something like that before where the words were crossed out and like you get a look into her mind and she's like, oh, I feel this way, just kidding, cross that out, I actually feel this way. And so I really liked that. I felt that the pacing was really good. I didn't want to put it down, and I kind of didn't put it down when I was on the plane reading. Adam, I can say I liked him even though I don't understand the love. I just don't get it. It's really cute and sweet, I guess, but it's also kind of stalkerish and weird. Like this little boy that you met when you were a kid still likes you years and years later, so much so that he devised this whole elaborate plan to get with you, hope that you fell in love with him, and then run away with you. Okay, he went to so much trouble for that, but you two never even spoke and you barely know each other. That's a little strange. I can definitely say that. It's definitely a trope. It's definitely insta-love, and it's something that I've never really thought about before I actually got on Booktube, that insta-love was actually a whole trope. And I'm still in debate of if I like it or not, because on the one hand it's cute, but on the other hand that doesn't make any sense. Like, it doesn't make sense at all. I didn't really like that. I feel like we don't know Adam. Like, if we had more time to get to know him, like, yeah, he's real sweet and everything, and yeah, he's cute, but who the heck is he? Like, I want to know who is Adam. Like, we know who Juliet is. We know what she'll do and what she won't do. We really don't know much about Adam at all. I'd have preferred to know something about him. Warner is it's hard for me to describe how I feel about him in Shatter Me because I've read Destroy Me now, so I understand him. However, when I first read him in Shatter Me, I did not like him at all. I was like, who, why, what the heck? And he's so weird. Like, the way he goes about trying to get her to be on his side by tormenting her and taunting her and trying to push her to the absolute limit is just what? Like, who does that? And then there's an insta-love there too, even though like later on in Destroy Me it's explained. In Shatter Me, it's just like Warner sees her and you can tell that he like really likes her for no apparent reason other than that she's like a monster in his eyes and in the eyes of the world, and he like wants to be with her because she's a monster. But that doesn't make any sense at all. It's so weird. I could have understood if he was trying to like use her as a toy, as a plot, but like there's literally a part in this book, and I can't even remember the line, where he like, they run away and he like goes out to find her, and instead of him like taking her back to the compound and like, you know, keeping her as his little pet, I would understand that because like she can kill people with her bare hands, like just touching them. Like, yeah, who wouldn't want to use that in a rebellion or for a war? But no, he's just like makes out with her. Okay. And she knew too that he liked her because she allowed him to make out with her just to gain access to his gun. I just want to know why he likes her. Like, I know it's explained in Destroy Me, but for Shatter Me, it's a real letdown that he was trying to use her as this monster to help him, but then again, he also likes her, and it's the second she kisses him and he realizes he can touch her, he's like, oh my gosh, you're gonna be mine. Like, I could offer you so much more than Adam, and we really know nothing about Adam. Like, Adam's just there. He's just there for her to love and to be the sweet guy that she runs away with. That's literally the only reason he's there. However, I did like his little brother. I thought he was so cute. I thought it was cool that he had a brother. I thought the whole story didn't make sense because you would think the reestablishment would know he had a brother, and as soon as he ran away with Juliet, that'd be the first person they killed, but that didn't happen. I liked his brother. He was cute. I thought it was adorable. And then I liked, oh my gosh, I can't even think of his name. Wow, it is escaping me. Kishimoto is his last name, so we're just gonna call him K for short. I loved his character because he was so witty and like funny, and like it was like a refreshing thing, like a book that's so not so serious but like focused on like war and using people as weapons and just a bunch of crazy stuff. He was like the ray of sunshine in the midst of all that because he was like joking even when it wasn't funny. The other thing is I really don't understand Juliet's power at all, because I get that like she can hurt people by touching them and kill people by touching them, but then like mid-book Warner tests her with this little boy in like the, I don't even know what to call it, the testing chamber, whatever, and she like breaks concrete and almost kills him. And then in another scene in the book, she literally rips through solid concrete and metal to get to Adam. And it's just like, okay, so what is her power exactly? Where does that even come from? Like, what purpose does that even serve? It doesn't explain anything, because it's like, her power was one thing, then you add in this other stuff. Like, what the heck can she do? Is she just like a jack of all trades? What is happening here? It's too much. I feel like the concrete aspect, when I was reading it, I was like, oh wow, that's crazy. But thinking about it, it's just too much. What can she do? Like, explain it better. Like, what exactly is her power? I find it so hard to believe that in all the years she's been alive, she never once found out that she could like break concrete and stuff. She's never gotten that mad after all the teasing, tormenting, testing, everything that was done to her. Like that never happened once. Like that just miraculously happened when she met Warner. Yeah, I don't buy it. I don't buy it at all. But that's neither here nor there. Let's move on. I thought that there were elements of the plot that was just like super convenient almost, and I didn't expect it, but it was just like, well, that's really convenient, kind of. Like, I get it, but then again, yeah. The fact that Adam can touch her, super convenient. I liked it when I was reading it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so cool. But looking back, I think I would have liked it better if like they had built some type of relationship, and then she learned how to control her power over time, and then he was able to touch her. Like, I feel like that would be more believable and just a little bit less easy. But I still enjoyed it. And the fact that Warner can touch her, I kind of agree with that one, because I would love to see if it plays out that Warner has some type of weird power himself, because he's very strange and just weird. But I still think it was kind of convenient that both of the people who love her can touch her. Okay. I also thought it was convenient that the rebels were full of people like her that had different abilities and different powers. I kind of think that, I mean, I know she can't be the only one, because that would be weird, and I understand that there'd have to be more people, but I also feel like the rebels being full of those people was just super convenient for the author to just throw in there, like, oh yeah, they're going to the rebels, and the rebels are full of these people. Really? Like, if there had been like one or two, yeah, I would have understood it. But then it kind of took a turn, because it's like, okay, so what is this book really about then? Like, you're adding in the element of almost superpowers, but it's a dystopia. What is going on here? Like, I don't really understand. Like, it threw me for a loop, especially the healers that like healed Adam like overnight from blood loss and being tortured and everything. All of a sudden overnight he's healed. And there was like no explanation, just like, oh yeah, these healers have powers. End of story. Okay, but like what do they do? Like, what's their power? How does it work? I don't understand. I feel like that was just poorly executed. Like, somebody explained to me how these two twin girls that supposedly have healing powers healed this guy that was basically dying overnight. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't. But anyway, I think that's all I really have to say about it. Overall, I did really enjoy it despite my little nitpicky things that I'm saying now about the plot and the characters and such. I really liked Juliet. I felt like she was three-dimensional. I liked Adam, even though I felt like his character was kind of just thrown in there to be somebody to save her and take her away. I didn't like Warner at all, but when I read the Destroy Me novella, I did like Warner, and we'll get to that. So overall, I still give this book 4 stars just because I don't think it deserves a rating below that, because it kept me gripped into this book, and when I read it, I really, really liked it. But the last book I read just kind of, I had to force myself to finish it, and this was just so easy. Like, I just finished it, and then it was just, I was done, and I really, truly enjoyed it, and I feel like it's a good book. So 4 stars for this one. Now, what I've been really trying to talk about this whole time is Destroy Me, because my heart cannot take this novella. It's only 101 pages, and it's just, let's just talk about it. So I have sticky notes in here, guys, because I just couldn't remember. I wanted to remember everything. So first of all, what I love most, like, I have no complaints about Destroy Me at all. Just throwing that out there. What I love most about Destroy Me is that it makes you understand Warner and realize that, okay, he's not such a terrible guy, but it also makes you see, like, him and Juliet are very alike in the situations that they were put in, but also him and Adam are alike in the situations that they were put in and the way they chose to handle them. And I also like that you get to see Warner's father and how he kind of is a monster and almost created a monster, but Warner's not really a monster. Like, it's hard to explain, but let's just start at my first sticky note because we got quite a few here. It baffles me that Warner knows that the reestablishment has promised these people that what they're living in, basically the ships, are just temporary homes, but he knows that they're not, and that the reestablishment is full of crap, and that they're a bunch of liars, and that one day these kids are going to grow up and realize this and probably rebel, but he's totally fine with it. Like, he knows what they're doing is wrong. I'm just like, what? I thought that he was like this terrible person who like didn't care that he was doing wrong, but clearly he does care, because he acknowledges the fact that he knows this is gonna happen, and he's just like, oh, I go here to like get away, to be around people, because I forget that they're actual people. It's just like, what? You can see he has some humanity in him, which is shocking, because in Shatter Me, he's just this terrible person, but then in Destroy Me, it's like, oh, well, there's reasoning behind it. It doesn't justify it, but like, he has empathy. The bad guy has empathy, guys. Like, what? Oh my gosh. And I love it because it's so realistic. Like, it's just, let's move on. The next sticky note I have is about the part that really just broke my heart. The fact that Warner's father killed this soldier's family who supposedly was stealing supplies. And then you find out the worst possible thing ever. That this soldier, Warner shot and killed him. Not because he was stealing supplies, but because he was beating his wife and kids. Warner showed sympathy and felt like it'd be better to kill him than to send him home to his wife and kids, who he was basically starving and beating half to death. But his father thought that His father has no sympathy and thought that, oh, he killed him because he's stealing supplies, which is what he said. So therefore his family deserves to die too. So he killed his wife and his 2 kids, under 10-year-old kids. And it's just like this realization that Warner has empathy and Warner really cares, but his father doesn't. The line literally says, "But there are some things I do not forgive. I do not consider myself a moral man, but I do live by a certain kind of code." I'm just paraphrasing, like I'm reading little sort of lines. He cared and he did this favor, and then his dad came in and just ruined it. And it breaks my heart because even though it's not real, like this poor family was slaughtered, and he says it, like he literally says it, that they were killed just because the husband was a terrible person and a wife beater, abuser, and basically neglected them. Wow. It kind of gives you a different look into Warner, and you realize he's really not that bad. Like, he really isn't that bad. Moving on. This quote killed me, and I think I just bookmarked this page because of the quote. I'm going to read to you because I just was like, this is so intensely powerful and just true. But like, who would have thought to like actually write it down, like put it in a book? Like, let's just read it. So it says, "People seldom realize that they tell lies with their lips and truths with their eyes all the time. Put a man in a room with something he's hidden and then ask him where he's hidden it. He'll tell you he doesn't know. He'll tell you you've got the wrong man, but he'll almost always glance at its exact location. And right now, I know my father is watching me, waiting to see where I might look, what I might say next." When I read that, I was just like, it was like an epiphany. I was just like, I've never even thought about this before. Like, this is not something I even sit around thinking about, but like when I buy a new highlighter, I'm going to highlight it in the book because I think it's such a powerful line and it's so true. Like, you incriminate yourself, not even by like your body language, just by like your eyes. Like, your eyes will always tell the truth. It's just so powerful. Like, the fact that she put that in this book, like, wow. Moving on. So this is where I really started relating to Warner, when he started talking about taking baths and the fact that he submerged himself in water to kind of forget about things going on and to relax. It's not really something really related to the book or the plot. It's just the fact that I related to it because that's what I do and I love taking baths. And it felt weird relating to a villain like Warner. And so I definitely had to put a highlight in there because I was like, I need to discuss the fact that like Warner is literally relatable. Even though he's this villain, like this bad person, I had to put a marker in there. This is actually a good marker right here because I want to discuss this in detail. I'm just going to close the book at this marker because we're going to be here for a second. I find it kind of interesting, and if you didn't think deeply about this, then you wouldn't get it, but that Warner is saying in this novella that he was abused by his father, and it's a trait that like the 3 main people in this book all share. So like Juliet, even though her parents like didn't really abuse her, like there's a line in the novella where it says that her mother made her put her hand in the fire just to see if it would burn, to see if it was like a normal hand, which is pretty much abusive. Like, her parents didn't want her, they didn't need her, and she chooses to not be a bad person. Like, she chooses to use her power not for bad but for good, whereas Warner is saying that his father abused him, and so he chooses to just use his power, not necessarily for good though. What he did do for the wife before she was killed and kids was a good thing, but he chooses to use his power to control people and to enforce different things, and not really for good, not really to help, but just in support of the people that abused him. Meanwhile, Adam in Shatter Me, you hear the line where Juliet says that Adam was beaten by his father in front of the school. Now, we don't know too much about Adam. I've addressed that in this review. But Adam chooses to do good too, because he gets Juliet out of that situation, takes her to the rebels. Well, really, he didn't know where they were, but he takes her away and he doesn't want to be a part of that. You have three people that all share kind of the idea of abuse, and they all kind of look at it in a different way, which is interesting. And I would love to know if Warner's father was ever abused, because I feel like that would just add an element to this. But I feel like that was a really good element to add in, because it just shows how different people coming out of the same situation will react in different ways. Like Warner is going to rise to power, and we don't really know what he's gonna do with his power, but like right now he's not good. He's not all bad, but he's definitely not good. Like he's just in that middle area, that gray area. Juliet is good. Like she doesn't want to do bad. She's not trying to do bad. She doesn't want to hurt anybody. She doesn't want to really do anything terrible. She's good. And then we have Adam, who, again, we don't know too much about, but we know that he's good, and he tries to help somebody get out of a bad situation, which makes him a good person. But all three of these people have suffered abuse. It's interesting that the author chose to do that, and I feel like it was purposeful, just to show that, like, you can overcome difficult situations, or you can succumb to difficult situations. Like, it can go both ways. Okay, so let's open this book back up. We got one more marker in here, then general discussion. So this marker is at like the very, very end. Like there's only this much left. This is kind of not like really, really important, but the fact that Warner doesn't want anybody to see him pick up this dog because he feels like it's a sign of weakness to love or like an animal, like, that just shows how like twisted the minds of these people controlling the government are, that he can't even pick up a helpless dog without being worried that they're gonna see weakness in him for actually caring for the animal that's starving. But I love that he does, and he makes sure no one's watching, and then he does pick up the animal and feed the animal, because again, there's that empathy. Like, he's a redeemable character. Like, there's some traits in him that are good, which is interesting, because I thought he was just going to be this person that was just controlling and power hungry and didn't care about anything else. But there's reasons to this, and I love that there's reasons to this, and that it's not just, oh, I'm terrible because I'm terrible. Then they end the novella with him thinking he sees Juliet. And I really need to get the second book, because I need to know if he actually did see her, if they actually were close to where they were hiding, or if he just was imagining things. Like, I need to know which one it was. That ends my markers in this book. Now let's just do a general discussion, because I do want to talk about how Warner feels about Juliet and kind of dive into that a little bit. Basically, Warner sympathizes with Juliet because she's going through or went through the same thing he went through as a child. And that's why he cares for her so much, because he feels like she's the only person that understands him, which is, it makes sense, but it's also like really weird, because I bet you there's plenty of people that understand him, Adam being one of them, who he just wants to murder for taking Juliet away from him. I do like that it does kind of explain his like love for Juliet, because he feels like Juliet can understand him, and Juliet is powerful, in a position of power, kind of like he is, because he's up there commanding this thing, and Juliet's in a position of power because she has a certain power that she can do things. And he just kind of wants to get to know her, and he wants, I feel like he wants somebody to understand him, and he feels like nobody can, because he can't show weakness around his father or his soldiers or the compound or anybody else except for like her, because she's not afraid of him, and she doesn't really care if he shows weakness or not. Like, she doesn't really care, but she's sympathetic enough that like if he was to share with her, she probably would change her opinion about him. Like, I'm just curious to find out how this is going to play out, because I don't know if I'm rooting for Adam or if I'm rooting for Warner now, because I want Warner to be redeemed. Like, he deserves a chance. I don't want him to die or anything bad to happen to him. I want him to be redeemed. I kind of want his father to die. And I don't know who I want Juliet to be with now, because I feel like we don't know Adam at all. But we find out that Warner has this, like, really interesting personality that stems from his father just being a terrible human being. And I feel like he's redeemable, guys. Like, I feel like this novella was so good. The writing was so amazing that you get to see a look into his mind, and it kind of helps you understand what was really going on in Shatter Me, and where that kind of insta-love came from was the fact that, like, he was just dying for someone to understand him, and Juliet was the person. even though he never shared anything with her. Like, I want to know if he's going to share stuff with her later. Like, I'm just really intrigued to find out how this all plays out. So, overall, Shatter Me and Destroy Me were very easy reads. I read Destroy Me, like I said, in a sitting. I got to page 40, and then I finished it up in a sitting. And I really loved it. 5 out of 5 stars, guys. Definitely 5 out of 5. If you don't like Shatter Me, I 100% recommend just read Destroy Me. Like, it'll take you maybe like an hour, maybe 2 max, and then you can decide if you are going to continue with the series or not. Like, just read it, guys. Just do it. But that has been my spoilery review of Shatter Me and Destroy Me. I will be picking up Unravel Me and then the next novella, and probably do another grouped up video with Unravel Me and the next novella in the series all together, like this one. And I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know how you feel in the comment section down below. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to my channel, guys, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!